Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another falconry video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between hooding versus hood training. It's actually a very important distinction, and I want to talk first about the principle behind it, and then the how-to of it. If you've been watching my channel before, you know I like to discuss the principles because that'll teach you way more than just all the how-to stuff on earth. Now, technically, this is a redo of this video. I did make a version of this years ago, and I had terrible editing software, and it was in the dark and too long-winded. So hopefully this is an update. It's fall currently. A lot of falconers are getting new birds this time of year, and this is pertinent information. Now, a hood, if you're new to falconry, a hood is something that just covers the eyes of a bird, shuts out the light. Regionally, different parts of the world have come up with different patterns, different designs that work well for that region for the past several thousand years. Hoods, basically what they do is they shut off about 80% of the brain. Most raptor species are so visually oriented in their thinking that if you shut out vision, and it doesn't have to be a hood, it could just be like you have them in a dark room where it's completely dark. I'm like, okay. Same thing with a hood. You cover their eyes, about 80% of the neural processing shuts off. Most raptors just relax. Not all of them, but most do. And so this is especially useful when you're traveling or when you're around a tense situation where maybe there's a lot of other birds around, a lot of people, or the bird's new to training. It's a quick way, if they're getting excited and scared, to bring their heart rate down and help them just kind of relax. Now, that being said, hooding is just putting a hood on. And some birds take to it easily, some don't. And if you are good at hooding, you can make it look easy. Even with a brand spanking new bird, you just put a hood on and you're set and you think nothing of it. And there's always this idea of like, well, are you good at hooding a bird? That's all fine and dandy. That's great. But you know what? That is entirely different than hood training a bird. Most falconers do not take the effort to hood train their bird. When I was a young falconer working with kestrels, I'd worked with other raptor species, but when I was working with kestrels, a lot of American kestrels do not hood easily. If you're just hooding them, they don't take to it naturally. And so I kind of broke down the steps and focused on training them as an actual training technique. There are other forms of training you can't do that with. So, for example, if you're calling a bird to the fist, if it's not trained, it's not coming. Training a falcon to wait on and dive or stoop to a lure, they're not just going to do it. You have to train them. And since technically hooding is an act you are doing, not them, we have this incorrect idea that it's like, oh, it's just something you do. It's like putting on jesses, putting on a leash, putting on a hood. It's like, think about it. There's nothing in the natural world for them to relate that to. There's nothing genetically to prepare a bird of prey, a raptor, for suddenly having something come up to their face and suddenly completely cut out all the vision. And so they might dodge, they might move because they're confused. They don't know what falconry is, they don't know what a hood is. And so maybe if you're really good at hooding, you get it on and they're like, oh, okay, and their brain shuts off and you think you've done a great job. Technically you have. So what is hood training and how is it different? Why is it something that we should strive for? Hood training is basically breaking it down step by step and acclimating your bird to it. Now, I don't have a new bird that I'm hood training right now. And I asked John, I'm going to have a few clips here with his bird who's trained. It's the newest bird we can really demonstrate this with. So it's not perfect for showing a brand new bird. This is a bird that is hood trained already, so she knows what we're doing. But the first step is just basically introducing the hood. So you're holding a bird, then you hold the hood up. So not like this, but like this, like you're moving towards the face the position would be in. And you are just literally holding it up there, putting it down, putting it up, putting it down. So that instead of a foreign object just suddenly being right there, they acclimate to the sight and the presence of it. And they're like, oh, it's just there. And gradually you get it to where it's sitting right under their beak. So it's upright. It's not sitting how it will be when it's on the bird's head. It's tipped up the direction you do when you're putting on the head of a bird. That, you just get it used to sitting under their chin, moving it back. Sitting it under the chin for a few seconds, moving it back. So again, they get used to this object. Now, I also do this with my hand. I'll just put my hand up and kind of with my fingers apart so they can see light through, I'll just put my hand over their head so they also get used to something being over their head prior to actually hooding them. So step by step, introducing the hood back here, moving it closer, and again, you're only doing this for a few seconds at a time. Eventually, you put the hood on, but remember, a hood has drawstrings in the back called braces. You do not close or strike those braces yet. Normally we do. If you're hooding a bird, you put it on and you quickly pull and close those braces up. We're not doing that. You're putting the hood on the bird very loosely, and they're like, wait, what's going on? You put it on for 5 seconds, 10 at the most if they're handling it well, if they're kind of confused. 5 seconds, take it off. And then put it up again, but just under the chin. Don't go step by step every time. Just sometimes randomly hold up the hood, clear out here. Sometimes put the hood on without pulling the braces back, and then take it off. Then go back to just putting it under the chin. And then just, so you're mixing it up. So the idea, the principle, is that each of these steps are viewed by the mind of the raptor as independent of each other, and that they're not necessarily in consecutive order, and that so they don't have to be directly related necessarily. And it works very well. Now, eventually, of course, you have the hood completely on, you pull the braces, pull the drawstrings closed, and do that. And if they're fine with it, you know, we do it for 20, 30, 40 seconds, but maybe just 5 or 10, and then take it off. So it's just something that happened, not something to get used to. And break these steps up, do them out of order, and just get them used to it. The most particular step on a bird, like especially when I was hood training American kestrels, is that step of having it on without the drawstrings closed. Because again, there's nothing in the wild that would ever have constriction or covering or approaching of the head of a raptor. And so everything else is just weird. The presence of a hood under a chin, a hood over the head, that's all strange. The last step does relate to something in the wild, and that is the gently closing of the drawstrings. It doesn't hurt, it's not tight, but that is constriction of the feathers around the back, and that could, for some birds, elicit an attack response. Not the bird attacking you, but the sense of, oh no, maybe an owl or an eagle or something bigger than me is grabbing me and attacking my head. Because again, that is the one step that does relate to something in the wild. And so you want that step to be very independent from everything else. So that having the hood on, off, no big deal. And that if the drawstrings are a little spooky, okay, that's fine. It normally isn't. But again, you want a rock-solid bird in every way. You want them rock-solid in your presence, indoors, outdoors, around dogs, around people, riding in a vehicle, on the ground eating food, on a kill, and hooding. You don't want to just have to be like, it's a battle, I've got to win. You're not trying to win. You're trying to build trust, build companionship, build mutual understanding and being a hunting partnership with your bird. You're not trying to force a hood on them. That being said, some of my birds, I do not hood. There's certain birds, that, whether maybe they're a rescue bird from a rehab situation that was raised in unique circumstances, or some species don't handle it as well. Some hardly need it. And there are times when certain birds, you can just ride with them in the vehicle and it's fine. But if you can, I always recommend hood training your bird. Again, break these steps apart, mix them up out of order, and spend a lot of time. Sit in front of the TV or just go sit out on your porch and just sit with your bird and practice this. Practice holding that hood in front, putting it on and taking it off, and just get them used to that motion. Hundreds of times, thousands of times, get them used to it. And they'll be solid, and it builds trust. And then even if you're not prone to regularly hood your bird, you have that in your pocket, so to speak. Don't literally put your hood in your pocket, it'll ruin it. You have that trick in your pocket in case there's an emergency or your bird's scared or there's a dog like jumping and lunging at your bird somewhere and you're like, and you have to. It's good to be able to hood your bird. It's respectful to your bird, and it's respectful to other birds, and it's respectful to the sport of falconry to know how to do it right. So I hope you understand the principle of what I'm trying to explain, and I hope that this kind of how-to shows you as well. Thank you to John and his beautiful peregrine J-Dam for kind of being models for this. Again, I wish I had a brand new kestrel I could show this with, but all my birds are at different stages in training and didn't do too well. So thank you, John, for volunteering and doing that. Let me know your thoughts on hooding. your thoughts on falconry and other videos you would like to see. Let me know any other questions or comments you have. And as always, happy hawking.